Welcome to today's webinar, Data Governance Strategies for Enterprise Security, hosted by University of Fairfax. My name is David Tafano, and I work in the admissions office at the university. We still have time to get you in for the May 7th session. There are generous fellowships still available. Please contact me on my email or phone number listed to learn more. Now I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Sandra Fonseca. Dr. Fonseca is a professor of information systems, system security and audit, and project management at the graduate and undergraduate levels. She has over 25 years of experience in information technology, 15 of them as system security manager. She holds a bachelor degree in business administration in information systems from University of Puerto Rico, master's degree in information systems, and a graduate certificate in audit information systems from EDP College, and a doctoral degree in management information systems from Turbo University. Her research interests are in IT controls at database and application levels, incident handling techniques, business processing reengineering, and agile project management for system security and IT cloud control assurance. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sandra Fonseca.
Thank you, David, and thank you so much for listening to our presentation. These days, we're working with big data lakes, big data repositories, and has emerged both as a profession and as a security issue that security managers and officers needs to pay more attention to. So we're going to discuss what is data governance, the domains of data governance, and its relation to the domains for the IC squared CISSP, certified for information system security professionals. The related domains are domain 2, asset security, and 8, security in the systems development life cycle. So again, we'll cover the domains, justification, criteria to observe or manage throughout the information lifecycle management, all the processes, the data, what is called the Data Governance Council, and its relation or interrelation with the System Security Committee, as described in the domain 2, asset security, and maturity levels for security and data governance. So, as I mentioned, these days we are dealing with big data installations, working with both unstructured and structured data. By structure and unstructured, we mean structure, those data that are being handled by database management systems, and unstructured data could cite some examples such as emails, images, sounds, multimedia, both stored locally at the business site or remotely via cloud services. And having to deal and work with big data installations and distributed data present some management challenges to manage the distributed data repositories. Also present inconsistencies, repetition, redundancy, and therefore some data quality issues are being observed more and more these days. So we have some risk associated with having inconsistent distributed and repetitive data. It can result in unusable data, corrupted data sets, damaged files, files that are being removed or discarded without the proper logging or authorization that could result in the lost critical data. And therefore, the end result for the business is that we lose customer trust on the state of our data. So we're dealing with security issues that supports the decision-making making process at the enterprise. So therefore, we have to enforce or look for strategies and technologies that could help us enforce the quality, assure the quality of the data, promote visibility at all levels, at all managerials and processing layers of the company or the corporation, and make sure the information is correct, it's complete, shows consistency, and provides the much needed support at all levels, both for descriptive analysis and for predictive analysis or forecasting as well. So that leads us to the concept of data governance. What is data governance? Data governance, in a nutshell, is a process, a series of steps or phases where standards, policies, and procedures are stated, are designed and implemented to safeguard the integrity and the proper use of data across all the applications and operational processes of the enterprise, both structured and unstructured data. By having a set of structured policies, standards, and procedures, that way the information technology department or the data management or data analytics unit that have emerged these past couple of years as well, will be able to assure or measure the quality and the state of the data, establish and manage central repositories of data, so that there is a central point of reference for future developments, or to make reference to the data repositories already available in the institution, and not resort to create new data sets or repetitive data sets that will result again in inconsistencies or multiple points of reference to the same data. Okay, so that also that could be linked to what is called in security the CIA triad, right? It will promote or contribute to having data that it's available, that is consistent. That will be data integrity, plus with the data security model entailed within the data governance structure, then the confidentiality will be enforced. So data governance is being implemented these days at multiple companies with the sole purpose or core objective of having a lean data management process. And by lean, we means that removing all the excess data or how it's called garbage. So having a central repository, and then the rest of the processes, operational processes or applications across the enterprise will make reference to what will be the master data repository. So data are loose facts, which while being processed by applications are then transformed in information, and information will have some meaning to the processes or transactions of any operational or supply chain, and that can also lead to the process of knowledge management, or the concept of knowledge management. And the DAMA International Data Management Association defines knowledge management as a discipline that will foster and will assure that the organizational culture, learning processes, the ways of doing things are kept, right? Are assured, are stored, right, within or passed on between the officers or the employees of the corporation. So therefore, it's very important that all the processes, all the knowledge, the data, especially project project history, right? Previous project history is kept for future reference, because the data in the end is one of the most important assets of any company. Without data, there are no operations. Without data, there's no disaster recovery or business continuity efforts that will work. We have to be aware on the importance and criticality of data integrity for any institution as well. So the data governance concept or model entails various what it's called domains. And among them, we can mention data quality, security, master data management, metadata management, data development practices, among others, and that is what's called or mentioned or known as the pillars of data governance. And on top of it, it shows here data leadership. That will be the whole data governance process. Now, this wheel is what it's called the data management body of knowledge, as published by the Data Management International Association, and it consists on the data architecture management, data development, database operations management, which has to deal with all the information lifecycle from its creation to its disposal. Data security management, access roles, matrix, access controls, criteria validations. Master data management. Master data management deals with identifying the most critical data repositories and having an index or a catalog of the main data sets for most of the applications, and then also keep control of the rest of the data repositories or tables or databases that works around the master data files. Data warehousing and business intelligence management deals with, again, with repositories and business rules, enterprise-wide, and all the business criteria that needs to be taken into consideration, both in the data creation or data management. Metadata management has already been classified or described as data about data, right? The description of the databases. But then going further in the metadata definition, we could say that it provides definition on the all the data attributes of the data sets, when they were created, where they were created, with which database management system tool was used, and the distribution of those data sets. So it's a detailed and technical information as well as business definitions of the data repositories. This is a more detailed view of the what's called the domains of data management as presented by the DAMA body of knowledge. And then we'll see that data architecture management also considers the configurations, controls, both physical, the tools or artifacts that are acquired and installed to manage all those data repositories. We'll see that data development deals with new designs, new developments and implementations. Therefore, states what will be naming standards, design structures, validations, also documentation throughout new development projects. For data operations management, again, covers all stages of the information lifecycle, from its acquisition, implementation, data entry, data creation, the use, storage, management, access, up until the disposal or the purging or data archiving process. The DAMA framework presents provision or activities to ensure that data is safeguarded across all the stages of the information life cycle, and also ensure that data that is being disposed of is properly documented, authorized, and logged before its final disposal or archiving. Data security covers also standards, authorization and authentication matrix, also roles validations, audits, and data classification as well. Master data management and reference include all the customer product, all those data sets that are identified as critical for operations, and those all the data sets or dimensions that runs as or references master data. Data warehousing and business intelligence also includes training and support, monitoring function, and all those ETL or data extractions that are needed for further data analysis, projections, or reporting. Within the document content management, a very important activity or task will be backup and recovery. Content management, the criteria for managing content of both electronic or physical data sources, as well as acquisition and storage of any tool or artifact. Again, metadata management is all the information, technical and business information that leads to a data repository or data set creation and management as well. And these are the general definitions that we just discussed, and they're covered all under the umbrella of what will be the data governance. So it will be planning, supervision, and control over all the enterprise data management and use, access, and storage and disposal. For data operations management, one important thing is also to provide protection mechanisms to data that is being used and stored. And among the popular protection mechanisms, we could mention encryptions, tokens, smart cards, multiple access, multiple storage devices as well. So there are a wide variety of protection mechanisms to safeguard the data that is being used or in production environments. When it comes to disposal of data, we discussed the electronic disposal of data, but also we have to monitor the disposition of the physical media. And among the techniques or processes that are being used by institutions to dispose of hard drives, CDs, cartridges, or tapes are degaussing, low-level formatting, drill the hard drive or the tapes, and shredding. So it combines low-level formatting to physical destruction, complete destruction of the physical media. Privacy needs to be ensured and confidentiality. Therefore, those data officers, data management officers, data architects, or database administrators must collaborate with information security managers, officers, or analysts in setting up all the security control measures in terms of when related to data. As it was mentioned, the information lifecycle covers all stages from the data creation. There will be input of data, loading data files, data sets, or creating data sets, leading on to the use, the access, storage of that data, sharing the data, and on here also we have to consider access controls to ensure confidentiality and security of the data, the archiving or disposal of the data, both electronic at electronic levels, especially cloud data sources, or physical disposition of physical media. This is another view of the activities that are included or that are part of each life cycle stage. From the creation will be data capture, data entry, and we have to look out for the implementation and the observance of input controls. For storage, then we will use database management systems. We could also still use physical files or electronic files. And for the electronic media and physical media, one of the tools that we have available are data retention policies, data storage and retention policies. As we continue using and sharing the data, there are some control standards or procedures to make proper use of data, proper transaction processings. And these days, we must ensure due care and due diligence in information and data processing to make sure again that the end result is quality of data, data that is of use or has meaning to the operations. And the last stage of the information lifecycle will be the archival or disposal, and as it was discussed previously. What is my master data management as defined by DAMA, International DAMA Book of Knowledge? It's a strategy. It's a strategy where some controls or standards are set along with technologies, software. There is software available that could help us keep a catalog of the main data sources of the institution, manage the make sure that it's properly defined, that is properly referenced across applications, and that we have only a single or central point of reference to that data, so that there is no repetition, there is no inconsistencies, or different sets of the same data. This is another view of what will be the pillars or the sequence of activities of what master data management consists of. So it's very important that also we define who's going to be in charge of handling that information that will be stored as the central repository, and the profiles, the data classification, the data categorization and visualization processes that will be part of the data management process. Again, metadata management is also always been described as the data about data, right? But what is data about data, right? So it's the business rules, business definitions, technical definitions, entity and attribute information, the characteristics of that data. Where is it going to be stored? When it was created? Where it was created? In terms of the database management systems tools that were used for the creation of that data set. Data architecture also covers having to set what will be the concept of business, process, and technology. And let's start from the business side, from the process side, where we have to depart or be aligned with the enterprise strategic plan. what are the organizational goals, both in short term and long term, and from there move to the business rules. The business rules set the relationships between entities, and also if the business rules are clearly stated, it also can also provides us with the security criteria, the security elements that needs to be implemented both on the data development or data management process or control sets, as well as the data security control standards to be managed by the System Security Office. That also can lead to the definition and the management of the roles. That will be the authorization and the authentication and the authorization levels of each users or groups. The users are the people, are the data owners, so therefore they also have to be aware of the architecture and the definition of the data sets, because they're in the end the end users are the responsible entities for efficiently and effectively manage and process the data. Make sure that data is complete, is correct, and therefore we will have quality of data as the result of the day-to-day operations of the supply or service chain. Then again, without good data, then the processes could be delayed or halted, or even halted. Management needs the data for management reports to be able to make informed decisions, forecasting, and there are also very popular tools being used such as dashboards, graphics, visibility maps, and other tools that uh, are very popular these days. And then in the end, we also, all the data and processes, applications and tools are being executed or hosted by architecture, right? The servers or all the devices, the physical devices that are being installed, implemented, and configured within an IT installation. Among the key players for the data governance program or model, there's the data owner. The data owner is the primary responsible for the management of data, is the one that sets the validation criteria, the attributes of all the data validations, primary identifiers, the ones who describes the business rules are the data owners. And data owner also can cover, depending on the nature of data, can cover the legal rights of the data and protections such as copyright or intellectual property. So they are the primary responsible entities for safeguarding the integrity of the data. There is also the data custodian, and they manage and make sure that the data is properly handled and stored. Data stewards could be business or technical in nature, or a combination of both, business people and technical people who collaborate with the data management office or the database administrator, depending on the nature and the size of the company, to oversee the proper implementation of data, transaction processing and logging, as well as the observing that there is compliance or observance of the criteria established on the standards and procedures as well. For large institutions, big enterprises or companies or institutions who handle big data sets, there's also the term of data lake, right? Data warehouses. There are two committees or councils from the data governance view, there is what's called the Data Governance Council. And from the security management view, there is also what is called the Security Steering Committee. Those are committees where vice presidents or top management sit at a table to evaluate standards, procedures, new developments, or data or security issues, related issues, analyze the root cause of the incident, the problem of the situation, consult with the data owners or the data stewards, both what could be the root cause of the incident, the failure, or the request. And based on that information and the recommendations, decisions on how to manage enterprise data are being made. So therefore, at that council, the placeholders are top management, vice presidents, department heads, or designated officers by those vice presidents or heads of departments of operational or organizational units. From that steering committee or council, then it runs down to the data owners. Those are the SMEs, right? The subject matter experts of each organizational unit, and the technical team, who in the end are those responsible for the implementation of validation criteria, database structure, management operations, and role-based access controls in terms of security, any security control measure, identifying a potential risk that could pose a threat to the data, the perimeter protection. So therefore, those two council or committees could collaborate, could have joint sessions, and within those joint sessions, and both data, enterprise data related issues as well as security related issues could be handled and discussed, and all the key decisions could be taken. These councils or main committee boards should be small, should be no more than 5 people are recommended to be part of the board to make sure that consensus can be reached and that key decisions can be made. Therefore, the format of the meetings, the processes has to be very structured. There has to be some timing, because we're working with very busy professionals, so time is always critical. It has to be very structured, the processes and the decisions made by those committees. So these are another views on how security and the Data Governance Council stands in the in various organizational charts or structures, and you will see that those committees or boards could report to even the chief executive officer or board of directors or stakeholders of the company. It depends again on the size, structure, and the view, how top management view those committees. So we have to make them count. There are a couple of maturity models out there, both for data management and for security as well. And there are some models that presented by companies such as Gartner, IBM, ISACA has its own model. The Data Management International Association is about to publish the second edition of the data management body of knowledge. It's scheduled to be published on the next quarter, and that new revision of the DMBOK maturity, a data maturity model will be presented. So therefore, for big institutions, it's important to model their maturity model, both in the data management structure and the data security as well. The main stages for a maturity model, the most basic stages will be initial, manage, define, and optimize. And it's very important that those models are stated and monitored so that the level, the state of data and security can be measured, and the top management will be able to see or to know where they stand in terms of security and data integrity, data quality as well. And this with the use of this maturity models for those metrics can be defined, measured, and reported. So what are the steps for starting, basic steps or recommendations for starting a data governance program? Uh, it goes the same as security. Without top management support and awareness, there's no possibility to establish an effective data governance program. So therefore, one of the main steps of the initial steps is to get top management support. Once you have top management support, or to get that support, we need to set clear goals, realistic objectives, right? And make sure that they're attainable, achievable, and to have a clear purpose. Where do we see us? Establish the mission and the vision of the data quality function, the data governance function, as well as the security function, both short-term, long-term. Also, it's very important that they are aligned with the enterprise mission, vision, and strategic plans. We presented and discussed some domains for data management, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to strictly define those governance domains or levels of security. We're working with security governance as well. It depends on the size, the nature of the organization, the company or government agency. It depends also on the law mandates that are required to comply with. It also depends on the volume of transactions and data repositories. And finally, last but not least, the organizational culture. So based on that initial assessment or needs definition, then the data management department or the system security department will then choose all the domains that apply or that are deemed necessary to ensure a secure state of operations. When working with standards, policies, and procedures, we should start on a high level. That will be the policies, stating what will be done, what will not be done, any ethic code to be observed, the roles and the responsibility. It's very important that accountability is always set and assigned to each of the roles defined, and that should start from the top-down, bottom-up approach. All right, so from top-down, from the higher level, and going down to the transactional level. But to effectively implement those standards and procedures, it is recommended a bottom-up approach, preferably validating those procedures when with a new project, a new implementation of development project, or an upgrade, let's say, or a new process implementation. So a bottom-up approach is recommended for validating those the data governance program as well. Always request feedback. Nothing should be written in stone. Nothing should ever be final. These are life strategies, processes, frameworks, and documents that should be ever constantly evolving, right, and customized to satisfy or cover the needs of the individual departments or organizational units, or be able to adjust or be customized for different types of projects or developments. As discussed in project management and in security and management, communication is key. And this, as logic as it sounds, we live in an era of multimedia and multiple communications devices and sources, but still, miscommunication is always there, is always a challenge, is always a threat to the continuum of operations, and data and security management is no exception. Policy standards and procedures could only be observed and compliant with if they are published, communicated, if trainings are conducted, right? That we make all end users or stakeholders aware of the existence of those policies, frameworks, processes, or models, and with the proper training and communication, compliance and observance with them will be achievable, and therefore we will then be able to reach our main goal, which is to have a safe, secure, and quality environment and data repositories as well. These are some of related body of knowledge. We've covered most of the DAMA, Data Management Association, Data Management Body of Knowledge, which is still on its first edition. But in the next quarter, the second edition will be released to the public. Another body of management is the Project Management Body of Knowledge, which is still on its fifth edition, but PMI is in the process of publishing the sixth edition of the PIM book. As for business analysis, we have the International Institute of Business Analysts, and they also have their body of knowledge. It's called the BABU Guide, the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge. The Lean Six Sigma approach is being used these days to ensure the consistency, the integrity, and remove any excess both from operations, data, and security processing. So therefore, the Lean Six Sigma approach is being combined with the security knowledge base, the data management, business analysis, and project management base as well. And let's not forget the security and compliance and control objectives such as the COVID framework by SAGA, and the NIST guidelines and frameworks were many institutions and government agencies has to comply with as well. And these are the reference, most of the reference used for this presentation. So I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this broadcast. I want to remind you that should you have any questions or suggestions, you can post your question or comments at twitter.com #cybersecuritylive, and we will answer any questions you may have as a result of this presentation. So I hope that the concepts presented at this presentation has been useful to you. It's very important that data and the data management departments or entities work in close collaborations both with the organizational heads and units, but with the security, because we have to collaborate if we want to be successful in our main goal of having a secure working environment. So I want to thank you for attending this session. Good night.